Good evening, my dear viewers, and welcome to another Alliteration gaming video. My name's Levi, and we're doing another Star Wars Unlimited deck profile. It'll be the last one for Twilight of the Republic, and as you guys know, I've been playing a ton of fun decks because work hasn't really allowed me to make any PQs. I did get to play a couple showdowns, took down a couple of those guys, but super high-level competitive stuff, not been my jam lately. Instead, I've been doing a lot of fun decks, and we're talking about fun decks. Man, one of the ones I've been having the most fun with in set 3 is Nala-Se, specifically on green with ECL. If any of you guys know, I'm just a giant Bad Batch stan. Bad Batch is like my favorite part of Star Wars ever. I've always loved the clones more than anything. The Bad Batch specifically just really sent it over the edge. It's like a dream come true of a show. So of course, when we got our beloved Hunter leader in set 2, and he was not incredibly impressive, I was pretty bummed that the Bad Batch tribal deck didn't quite exactly pan out. And then lo and behold, set 3 gave us Nala-Se, who, while not significantly better than Hunter, can bring all of the Bad Batch members together in a bit more of an effective way than Hunter as a leader can. There's just a lot of really cool, wacky, fun things you can do with this deck, and it's a ton of fun to play. And of course, I get to put a bunch of different clones in the deck, and that makes me very happy. So if you're like me and you're just a big stan for D. Bradley Baker's voice, you're gonna love this deck. But to really figure out how all those clones are gonna come together, we've got to take a deeper look at Nala-Se herself. Nala-Se is a blue villainy leader, and on her leader side, she does a whole lot of nothing past the deck building stage. She says you ignore the aspect penalties on clone units you play. So even though we're blue-green villainy, we're going to get to play any kinds of clones that we want in this deck, much like Hera was in set 1. She's a Hera-style leader. And then, also very uniquely, she deploys on 4 resources, but as a 1/7, so not exactly going to be doing a whole lot of damage here. However, she maintains the same static ability, of course, and she says when one of your friendly clones die, you get to heal 2 damage from your base. So this is actually kind of a sweet ability. It protects you a lot in the early game and really kind of puts your opponent's aggro deck into a weird spot where they want to hit your base, but then your clones are going to start trading into their guys and heal up. So they want to go into your clones, but then you still heal up anyway, and then they want to go into Nala-Se first, but then they're attacking, like, you know, for 7 damages worth into her, and then all of that feels kind of good. Not to mention, as a 1/7, there's some pretty interesting things you can do with Nala-Se with some certain upgrades. The fact that she has a merely 1 power but a huge 7 health means that she wears certain upgrades very well, and we're going to get to those as we go through the deck. And then pairing alongside is our base, which is Energy Conversion Lab. Once per game we get to play a 6 drop or less and give an ambush. This is obviously very amazing with certain things. This is the way you get to play ECL with Wrecker inside of a blue villainy deck, and that's really cool. There's some other neat plays, but that's kind of one of the main big ones, is you get to combine the best 2-card combo in the game in an aspect that you shouldn't be able to play it in, and that's kind of neato. There's some really cool things that we can do with this leader past just like have a cool deck full of clones. But the clones are pretty important, so let's shove Nala-Se to the side and take a look at those. First 2-drop is going to be Omega. Omega is the heart and soul of the deck. She's a 2-cost 2/2. She says you ignore the aspect penalty on your first clone. That's irrelevant. We ignore them all in this deck, but what is relevant is her when played. We get to look at the top 5 cards of our deck for a clone card and grab it. And this is pretty nice. Obviously, the 2/2 body is not great, but she searches a lot of cards in our deck, like the almighty Wrecker, which is just pretty sweet. There's some other cool like 1-ofs and 2-ofs that she really kind of cultivates. A lot of cards earn their spot in the deck, whether it's big or small, because of Omega, and then vice versa, Omega kind of earns her spot in the deck. She's also a 2-health clone, which is really nice, because as messed up as it is to say, she dies really easily so that we can heal off of Nala-Se. She searches herself too, which is pretty sweet. We don't hate that at all. Being able to just like Omega into Omega, throw her into something, heal 2, grab another one, it's quite nice. In a very similar vein, we're playing 3 copies of the Coruscant Guard. This is a 3/2 clone with Coordinate Ambush. We get to play a non-zero amount of like token generation and just weenies in general. So Coordinate's certainly not impossible, especially because of how fast our leader comes out and how sticky she is. So this is not impossible, and it feels really good to ambush into something and then heal 2 off of Nala-Se's unit side. It's quite good. Again, 2-health clone, Omega can search it. It's nice in a lot of ways. Our next 2-drop Omega cannot search, but it's going to be Admiral Piet. And if you thought that being able to play ECL Wrecker in Villainy was cool, what if you didn't even have to ECL the Wrecker? Because Piet says all of our 6 costs or more gain Ambush. This is obviously very awesome with Wrecker. There's a few other, idle targets in this deck, but it feels quite good to throw a Piet down and then people just ignore him for a while, not thinking that like Devastators are coming, and then you drop Wrecker and go, oh, you ECLing that? No, I'm not. Piet's out. And that's just like super duper funny. Also, he wears some of our upgrades really well, being high health and low power, just like Nalase does. Going into our 3-drops, we're playing 3 copies of Batch Brothers. This is a 3-cost 2/1 clone that when you play him, you make a clone. You make a 2/2 clone trooper token. And it's just really, really good value with Nalase. It's effectively a heal 4 as long as she stays out, and it's just good. It turns your coordinate online. Really nice to like Omega turn 1, search this, and then you just got 3 bodies right away. They're all like, super duper measly, but it's fine. They're not really there to stick around. They're there to just kind of poke them until Nalase comes out, and then they'll start running into things and healing for you, and that's very, very nice. Next up, we got 2 copies of Jesse. Jesse's a 3-cost 4/4 with Raid 1. He's huge, but when you play him, you got to give your opponent 2 Battle Droid tokens. Now, this is not the end of the world because, like, we can, throw, like, the Battle Droid tokens are kind of good at trading up into clones, which is what we want. We want our 2 health clones to die for Nalase's heal. So, not a big drawback there, and people don't really exploit very much. So giving your opponent droids is really not a big deal, even against like the meta decks. I guess giving them to Django is not great because he can like run them into things and then exhaust them. Super duper pesky, but other than that, giving your opponent droids is not a big deal. And, when we talk about ECL Wrecker so much, it's really nice if a droid just sticks around for a few turns and you get to send Wrecker with 6 Overwhelm into it. Our next 3-drop is just a 1-of tech. This little dude is an unassuming 2/5, smuggles for 4, which is very good. But what's even better is he gives your whole resource row smuggle. And that's just insane. Tech's a crazy card. We're not really a super late game deck. We don't grind very often. However, when we do, our 1-of tech comes in, we can resource him really early and not think about it. Omega searching him is also really good. Like being able to find the 1-of tech in a grindy matchup is really, really, really nice. So being able to play tech and villainy is also quite a cool thing. And he's another Bad Batch member, so we're racking up the family there. Next up, kind of a sleeper card of the deck, 2 copies of Hidden Sharpshooter. This guy is a 4-cost 4/3 ambusher. Now he's no 4-LOM, but we can't play 4-LOM in this deck. But the 3 health means he's going to die a lot more often when he ambushes, but it is pretty nice. It gives you a lot of ambush early game between like the guard, the sharpshooter, your ECL, of course. You can kind of keep them on their toes, and if he ambushes into something while Nalase's out, you don't mind him dying because he also basically gets like a restore 2 out of it because of her heal. Continuing the clone synergies here, 3 copies of 5s. 5's a 5-cost 5/5 Teehee, but he's also a Saboteur, and he says when you play an event, you can bottom deck a clone from your discard pile to draw a card. This is pretty nice. That comes up every now and then. Using Overwhelming Barrage on him is very sweet. Blasting for 7 and then drawing a card is like pretty stupid good. As a 5/5, he's also not an awful ECL target as well. 5s is just good, and again, he kind of makes the whole clone package just make more sense. Now, the secondary ECL target here, we're just going to play 3 copies of Steadfast Battalion. We're kind of shy on good 5-drops to play here, so we're just going to kind of resort to an old trick in the book. 5-cost 5/5 Overwhelm, and when it swings, if your leader's out, you get something 2/2 for the phase. So obviously this is very good. You flip your leader, you ECL this out, it can swing for 7, ambush, kill most leaders on sight, kill all the 5-cost deployed leaders on sight. Just kind of a bit of a bread and butter combo from set 1 that we can just kind of utilize to good effect because we have a really sticky early flip leader. We're going to play ECL anyway. Sometimes a Steadfast is just the way to go. And even if you just hard play it, it's kind of okay. It's a big body. You can barrage it quite well. It's a fine card. Nothing wrong with a little ECL Steadfast in 2025. Now finally, moving into 6-drops, we have the true hero of the deck, 3 copies of Wrecker. Boom, this guy is crazy, dudes. 6-cost 7/6 with Overwhelm, and when you play him, you can defeat one of your own resources to blast something for 5 on the ground. This guy is insane. Obviously, when you use the lab to give him ambush, you get to blast something for 5 and then swing for 7 Overwhelm into something on the 6 resource turn. That is so early. That's like a maul on 6 and you blast something. If they have like a 6 or more health unit out, you can blast it for 5, then ambush it and deal like a million Overwhelm. Again, if they have a droid from Jesse, you can blast a guy for 5, then hit the droid, Overwhelm for 6, only take 1 back. It's really good. Again, he's also good against like all the 6-cost leaders. If you hold your ECL, they flip their guy, you blast it for 5, you swing for 7 with a bunch of overwhelm. ECL's record is just so nuts. It's just so dang crazy, dude. This unit's so wild, and the fact that we get to play the best 2-card combo in the game is really not a 2-card combo. You start with this thing. The best single play in the game in villainy is quite cool. It's kind of the main draw of the deck. Also, like, Omega searches this guy. Omega searches record in an ECL record deck. That's pretty gnarly. It's pretty gnarly. I'm just saying, it's gnarly. It's cool. And then our other 6-drop clone is just one Captain Rex boy. This guy's just a 6-cost 4/4 that makes 2 clone trooper tokens. He's just good. Gets you back in the game a little bit when you're kind of in those awkward spots. And he's also nice if like Nalase sticks around. Sometimes you have those games where Nalase sticks around a long time, and if you can get like a heal 4 out of the 2 clones that he makes, or even a heal 6 if he dies too, it's not bad. Not bad at all. Moving into our space units, 3 copies of Inferno 4. This is just a good little ship. 2-cost 2/3. When you play it and when it dies, you get to scout the top 2 and move them around however you want, top or bottom of your deck. It's just good. It's well statted. Kills lurking TIE Phantoms and survives, and that's just freaking great. The Inferno 4 is just awesome. It also just like gets you closer to things you want to see, like your barrages and your wreckers. Just a great card. Our next ship is another little blast from like the past. We're playing 3 copies of Consortium Star Viper. This is a 3-cost 3/3 little feather, and when you have the initiative, he gains Restore 2. This guy's just nice. You know, typically this would be like the perilous position slot. However, I like him just because like you do have the initiative pretty often in this deck. Your leader doesn't like, you know, take like exhaust to do an action or something. Also really good with ECL, you know, claim going into turn 2, ECL into like their turn 1 play. We're utilizing a lot of old classic tricks to kind of prop this deck up, but it does all come together quite nice. And next up, a bit of a weird one. We're playing 2 copies of Malevolence. This is a 9-cost ship, but it's got exploit 4, so it can go all the way down to a 1-cost if you really want to. But it's a 7/7 with Restore 2, and when you play it, you give something -4 and it can't swing on this phase. So the -4 is funny because it already can't swing, but you can like swing into it and not take much back. You don't usually mass exploit this. However, if you have like a lot of stinkers around, you know, like an Omega, if you've got like a Batch Brothers, you know, takes a lot off of this as well. There's some cute stuff you can do, especially if you can like going into the 4 resource turn. If you played like a 2-drop and then Batch Brothers, right? You'll have 3 guys. If they're all still alive, you can flip Nalase, exploit them all and play this for 3. Potentially heal, you know, 6 if one of those guys isn't Piet. Kind of okay stuff you can go there. More often than not, though, you're going to play this on like 5 resources by like exploiting 2. It's just a good play. Also, if you have Piet out, this game's Ambush, which is really busted sometimes. It's crazy. It's crazy occasionally. Moving into the events, we're going to start with 3 copies of Power of the Dark Side. Tried and true, Power of the Dark Side, man, this is just all good old blue villainy tricks. Your opponent's got to kill one of their units, even their leader if it's all they have out. Power is just good, tough to beat it. Tough to beat it out of any blue villainy deck. Not much to say there. Next is 3 copies of Fell the Dragon. We don't really have like a ton of ways besides like ECL and Wrecker or Steadfast to kill big things. And we really don't have any way to kill big things in space. So this just helps us, you know, not have to worry about, I don't know, you know, Snokes and Avengers and Lukes and, you know, just all those really problematic 7-drops, you know, Mauls, just anything that we're really just not interested in dealing with. And then of course our next event is 3 copies of Overwhelming Barrage. Overwhelming Barrage is totally loco. You don't know what this card does. Oh man, you haven't fought enough green villainy decks yet. Give something 2/2 and then spread their power as damage. This card's just nuts. We have tons of really like fat targets for this. Obviously, Wrecker, being able to spread 9 is crazy. Doing it on 5 is really good. If you can get a Malevolence out in Barrage, that's also fantastic. Also, just a lot of good like early game Barrage targets. You know, if a Jesse sticks around, barraging for 6 on the 5 resource turn is very good. Barraging 5s and drawing a card, spreading 7. It's just great. You know, it's Barrage. It's Barrage. I feel like these just 9 cards here are so self-explanatory. But we're gonna move them down here so we can get to our not so self-explanatory events. Yes, these are the things that make Nalase really fun to play with sometimes. We play some really awesome events that she can wear. The first one is gonna be the Darksaber. The Darksaber is awesome on Nalase. Instantly turning her into a 5/10 is crazy. We have no Mandalorians, we have EXP too, but it's perfectly fine. We don't care about any of the text. This is just +4/+3 to our leader on the 4 resource turn. Becoming a 5/10 right off the bat is just super crazy. I don't know how you're killing that anytime soon, and you're just chopping up their base. Or you're killing like a few really relevant units if you're not in a position to be the aggro. The Darksaber is just awesome, and being able to play it the same turn she comes down, you know, feels almost as good, if not better, than it does on Sabine sometimes. Our other 4-cost upgrade that we like to put on Nala Se is Unshakable Will. This one's also really nice against the aggro decks. It gives +2/+2 and Sentinel. So you flip Nala Se and instantly make her a 3/9 Sentinel. A lot of folks are not ready to deal with all of that. It's really good against, you know, smaller rush strategies. It's really, really good. If your opponent's like beating you up in space, putting this on a Star Viper, or like, you know, God forbid, putting this on like a Malevolence or something is really good. Like, it's, you know, it's in there to go on Nala Se on turn 3, but there's some other pretty cool plays you can do with it. I've gotten to make Wrecker a Sentinel before, which was really funny. Wrecker as a 9/8 Sentinel was hilarious. Next up, we're playing 2 copies of Entrenched. Now this one's just kind of a good card all around. +3/+3, and the attached unit can't attack bases. So we do want to put this on our opponent's units sometimes in case they're like in space threatening us and we can't do anything about it. This is kind of like a pseudo perilous position because it kind of like takes it out of the game until you start contesting that arena, which if it's space, you can easily just not contest that arena. We're not very space heavy. And then also, yeah, Nala Se does wear it really well. Turning her into a 4/10 is quite good. She can't attack bases, but she's certainly going to mop up any medium-sized to small-sized unit that your opponent plays. And then the last one is just a 1 of Devotion. This one is a 2-cost upgrade that gives you +1/+1 and Restore 2. So making Nala Se a 3/8 with Restore 2, seriously annoying. Then you're just healing so much. You're trading your clones into their guys and healing off of it off Nala Se. Nala Se is going to swing and restore. This one's really pesky. This whole suite just makes it like if you have basically any of these cards, any matchup that really needs to dominate their early game against you, Nala Se is going to be pretty problematic for them, which is just super duper funny. Like, how do you get much funnier than Nala Se with the Darksaber? This is just peak Star Wars Unlimited gaming right here. And that, my dear viewers, is going to wrap up this deck profile. This is not your PQ winning deck, but holy cow, is it a super duper good time to play. Getting to play things like Omega and 5s and finding these clone synergies is really exciting. Getting to play almost all of the Bad Batch together in a deck, save for Hunter because he has no unit, and I guess we're not playing Crosshair. We could play a 1 of Crosshair in here for the memes, but we really have any way to make him good, and like realistically, timeline-wise, Crosshair's not really their friend at this point, so I think it's okay. I think it's okay if Crosshair's not in here. Past that, you just get a bunch of really cool, powerful cards like Power of the Dark Side, Barrage, and then getting to play ECL Wrecker on top of all that. Just a little bit of a chef's kiss. This deck's had absolute blast to play, man. The look on your opponent's face when you flip Nala Se and then suddenly put one of these things on her and make her like a certified hashtag patent pending problem, it's really funny. It's very fun. That's gonna wrap it up for this deck profile though, guys. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. We're gonna have some more Star Wars Unlimited content coming out in the pipeline. Jump to Lightspeed is coming out very soon, and I'm very excited for it. So look forward to some unboxings, new leader, deck profile, stuff like that. And I hope you can join me for all those cool videos. In the meantime though, that is all the time I've got for today. Thanks again for watching, and I hope I can see you in the next one.